Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Centene. It is time for another update and I am excited to tell you that we have our initial potential 5-wave move to the upside that we can be tracking for a 1-2 setup within a much larger area of support. Now we have been tracking this pattern ever since we actually had our initial wave 1 to the upside, and we were able to tell very early actually when we should be expecting this movement, this direct downtrend, to actually find the bottom. Yeah, we had here internal resistance levels and we were able to tell when broken above that this structure is either expected to form a much larger correction, yeah, that would be still part of the larger downtrend, or even the potential, again, the potential 5-wave move to the upside. And we have actually managed to break here the 50% retracement. We have managed here to break the resistance levels at the same time as forming our initial 5-wave move to the upside, and we will get to this in a moment, but I want to actually go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are tracking a very simple structure because we have a wave 1, 2 and 3 complete. We are looking at a wave 4 correction and a 5th wave to the upside that is expected to form here as long as we hold the area of support here for the wave 4 that goes all the way down to the $18 level at the 50% retracement. Yeah, and as long as we hold this, we are looking for a potential 5th wave into new all-time high territory. Now, within the structure in the wave 4, we are still tracking a potential ABC movement, in which case, yes, we are still aware of potential downside still to come, but since we have here this initial structure to the upside, it allows us to look with much higher probabilities of or at an actual bottom within this wave 4, because as I was telling you in many of the previous videos, this is a structure that could complete within a WXY, in which case I would not need any additional lows to consider a bottom being in place. Yeah, this correction could be done. We are just exploring the potential larger structure that would allow further extensions, because yeah, we need to break those resistance levels for additional confirmation, additional signals that this structure should not be necessarily expected to extend. Now, within such a pattern that has formed from the current low, we have managed to break above the 50% retracement. Quite briefly, not necessarily ideal. I would have liked to see a more significant break, but at this point it is highly unlikely to me that we should still expect here to form an impulse within this structure, because I was actually still looking for additional lows to be formed within this area, yeah, in a more direct fashion to form here a 5th wave to the downside if it was to actually form an impulse. And yeah, now we can actually remove even these more bearish interpretations within this area and even this larger count and even the resistance area, since again we have broken above it. So now we can still track a potential wave C to be formed within this area, but really only within a diagonal structure. I am not tracking an impulse to still be formed within this structure, and in that case I could consider here a wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, a 3rd wave down, a 4th wave up, and then a 5th wave down, where yeah, the wave 1 would have been an ABC structure as well as the 3rd wave to the downside would have been an ABC structure as well. And in that case we should still be aware that yeah, it is possible. Of course, it is possible for us to still go lower. The market can always do what it wants, but this is about the probabilities. This is about analyzing the market sentiment, and we are right now expecting that this structure could allow much more easily, now that we have our 5-wave move to the upside, it could allow us to look for a bottom with a higher degree of probabilities. And in this case, I would at this point like to track the continuation lower within a different pattern. Yeah, realistically, again, it is possible to have bottomed and we will track a potential 1-2 setup in this area, but there is no room for excuses that yeah, this structure could still fail. It is no guarantee that we have formed the bottom, and in this case I would be watching here out for resistance levels between the $33 all the way up to the $51.6 level, where if we break even here above the $51.6 level, well, that would actually be a signal to me that this structure is most likely done. There may be still one more way we could be tracking something more bearish, but realistically that would be within an even large downtrend that would be expected within a 5-wave move to the downside, where I would still be tracking a diagonal structure, but then I would be looking here at something like a 1-2, a 3rd wave down, 4th wave up, and then a 5th wave. In that case, the area of resistance could shift ever so slightly higher, but again, that would be the $52 level. So almost no difference. Yeah, the difference is marginal, and I would expect that honestly, if we break above this level, we should be prepared either for a much larger correction within the wave 4 or a bottom to be in place. Now, if this really is, however, to form a fifth wave to the upside from this area, we would expect to already have a potential wave 1 in place. Now, this could be a wave 1 of an even larger wave 1, but however, after a correction here in a 3-wave move to the downside in wave 2, if we build indeed a third wave to the upside, we would expect quite a significant uptrend, quite a significant movement in this direction would be expected. And with that said, we can actually go ahead and track here an internal area of support. We don't need to actually be looking at the internal count within the wave 1, since it is actually still possible that this extends higher, but there is realistically no signal that we should expect such an idea. And in that case, I will honestly not be tracking a potential continuation of this diagonal structure that has formed within this area. Again, even this structure could extend higher, but I wouldn't necessarily have high hopes. We would actually even prefer that this structure has already topped, since we have our 5-wave move to the upside, and we would like actually to see here the larger correction within a wave 2. And in this case, I would be watching out here at the levels between the $34.3 all the way down to the $28 level at the 78.6% retracement. We can even note here that the 38.2% retracement is very much in line with the first significant structural support level, and yeah, around this area in general we have significant structural support that could allow a bottom to actually be formed. But yeah, we still need to be quite patient and give the structure some time to form the correction in wave 2. Yeah, if this is actually forming a more choppy structure, it would actually be a good sign. It would be suggestive of a corrective pattern going on. Although, yeah, to be honest, right now this structure seems to be quite impulsive to the downside, although it is not on too large of a time frame. And even if we form a larger wave A within an impulse, we get something like a wave B correction and then another potential impulse within the wave C. Even this could actually still very well form a bottom within quite the early levels within this larger correction in the wave 2 in blue. Now, with that said, we again have the potential top within the wave 1, and I'm thinking that yeah, this structure could extend even higher. This wave 1 could extend actually quite significantly higher within a certain pattern, and in that case I would actually be considering a potential larger 5-wave move to the upside to be formed within this area. Now in this case, we would be watching out here for levels of support in the area. Let's see, this would be for a wave 4, and we will be tracking this in the green scenario, but at the levels between the $40 level all the way down to the 61.8% retracement at the $37 level. Yeah, we can maybe allow this to be an A, B, C within the wave 3. We can allow this area of support actually a bit lower, but in the end it would be a very similar area of support. Okay, the $36.6 level would be the signal that this structure to the upside is likely done, and I'm not tracking this for a potential position within this area. I am tracking this solely as a signal that yeah, we should expect this structure with even higher likelihood that it should get into the larger area of support in blue. This is the entire purpose of this area of support in green, to be watching out for a signal that this structure should lead even more likely into the area of support in blue before we continue in a larger wave 3 to the upside. So what I would actually want to see from this chart right now would be a break below the 69.8% retracement and a top to be in place within this larger pattern, and a correction that would get us into the area of support. That would be quite interesting because yeah, from a small time frame perspective, we have a 5-wave move to the upside, we have an area of support for a wave 2, and we are also decently deep in this area in the larger area of support from the larger time frame in white, and it would allow us to look for a 5th wave to the upside in multiple time frames. It would be a level of confluence. It would be a very interesting area for a potential trade setup. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.